What's going on, Master Duel fans? James here again. It's time for another unique tech talk that I happened to come across throughout the whole entire event, and I didn't expect it to see it being played, and it was for some reason allowed at the event. This tech talk of a card happens to be Corridor of Agony. Corridor of Agony is a floodgate spell that says monsters that were special summoned from the main deck cannot activate their effects are negated, and they cannot declare an attack as long as they remain face up on the field. So why is this pretty much of a floodgate spell to some degree? Well, if we can picture certain decks in terms of that are able to special summon from the deck specifically in terms of legal targets, let's get this show on the road. Starting off fresh, machine duplication. When it comes to machine duplication, aside from special summon up to 2 machines with 500 attack or less from the deck, such cards as Aileron, the card is treated as a Sky Striker, if it's summoned from the deck, it makes it so that they shouldn't be able to hook it up to it as an equip card. And then Speed Droid Red Eye Dice, assuming if you play 2 to 3 copies, if it's special summoned from the deck specifically, you won't be able to level modulate unless if you somehow be able to keep on extending your plays from there on out. And then cards such as 1-for-1, Transmodify, and Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, of course they all summon from the deck when it comes to their unique ways doing so. 1-for-1 in terms of level 1s, aside from the Red Eye Dice, which again cancels the level modulation due to Corridor of Agony, and Lyrilusk happens to be level 1 monsters, so if they were to be summoned all from 1-for-1, I mean, they're not going to get a search off from Cobalt Sparrow, and then they won't be able to get a Spell Trap search off from Celestine if it was summoned off from 1-for-1 while Corridor Agony is on the field. So basically, they cannot search off from Cobalt, and they cannot search off from Celestine, which is huge. And then Transmodify, in terms of hard countering by Corridor Agony, it's basically if a monster is being summoned that is +1 level, whatever monster being summoned from the deck won't be able to get the effects off. Same goes for, I believe the card is Downbeat. So both Transmodify and Downbeat, they both do the same in terms of special summons, but the thing is, Transmodify goes up 1 level, while Downbeat goes down 1 level. So most cases, anything that gets summoned from the deck or from those 2 generic cards will end up negated and they cannot attack. Same goes for hard countering Ties of the Brethren, because any 2 of the legal required targets that they summon off from the deck, they will never be able to get their effects off, and they cannot attack anyway. Well, technically that's what ties do too on your turn, is that they cannot attack on the turn this happens. But if the monsters on the previous turns, they were special summoned from the deck, as long as Corridor exists on the field, it makes it so that the previous monsters, 2 of them, they cannot attack and their effects are negated, which is absolutely insane. And then cards such as Gusto. Thanks to Tailwind of Gusto and many others, It's basically anything they summoned. All Gustos in terms of the field effects aren't going to happen. So most cases, cards such as Pilica in terms of special summon from the deck, thanks to Gusto Ego or Emergency Teleport for the sake of Pilica, it shuts off Pilica's effects, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck, which is absolutely insane. And then Ego summoning the level 4 or lower non-tuner Gustos in terms of shutting the effects off for one. You're basically shutting off Cam from the +1 draw, and you're essentially shutting off, once again, Pilica on the Reborn, and Musto happens to be a non-tuner level 4 or lower Gusto, and it makes it so that the effect negation of Musto is not gonna happen, and then that's pretty much one of those unique applications. And oh, Gusto Corridor as well, because it is not a tuner as well. So most cases, yeah, level 4 lower non-tuner. So if Coder was special summoned from the deck thanks to Ego, its effects about destroying stuff for the special summon won't be able to happen. And even if it were to be summoned from the hand, if it was destroyed successfully, summoning Pilica off from Coder makes it so that the Reborn effect is not going to happen thanks to Corridor of Agony for one. And then Ice Jades. Cards such as the Manifestation makes it so that they can be special summoned from the deck. That is, if you control a water and your opponent has a monster on their field or graveyard. And this lets you take one Ice Jade from your deck and either send it to the graveyard or special summon it. So if Ice Jades were to be special summoned from the deck while Corridor Agony is out, that pretty much means they cannot search off from Adrin, and they cannot use the secondary effect off from Adrian in terms of protection for one. And then let's see some other Ice Jade applications. Acti. This makes it so that you cannot Foolish Burial, or not Foolish Burial, I'm sorry. You cannot send a water monster to cycle a card. And then let's see, for who else? Let's see. Yeah, it's literally Adrin and Acti in terms of the special summon effects, in terms of summon from deck, as long as Corridor is around. And then let's see, Ice Jade Creation Kingfisher, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck, it makes it so that you cannot have the water monster in general being equipped. And if it was equipped with an Ice Jade, it cancels out the Pierce Battle Damage thing. So until Corridor of Agony is getting rid of, you're not going to be able to equip an Ice Jade monster out of the deck. And then assuming that if Cosmoclore were to be summoned from the deck, courtesy of the Manifestation, it makes it so that the Floodgate ability is cancelled and the attack reduction is cancelled as well, which is huge. Marincess monsters. Thanks to Marincess Dive, assuming that if you have Battle Ocean in your field zone, this basically e-tellies any Marincess. And anything that is summoned off from Corridor Agony, its effects are getting completely shut off. So most cases, you're shutting off Blue Tang in terms of Foolish Burial, and you are also shutting off Pascalis in terms of another extension off from the hand of Marincess. Yeah, Blue Tang and Pascalis extension effects are being shut off, assuming that if you summon off from the dive, as long as the battle lotion is there. And then winds over the ice barriers. So any level 4 or lower ice barriers that were summoned from the deck, their effects are completely shut off. So basically, it makes it so that they Caravan cannot cycle for one. Hexa's Floodgate debuff cancels, and the level modulation is not gonna happen. The Floodgate effects of Cryomancer, Dudark on a direct attack, Secret Guards, Mirror Mage on the tribute to generate tokens, that's not gonna happen. Geomancer on the attribute declaration, that's not gonna happen. Defender with the block. Warlock with the anti-spell ability, cancelled. Numbing Grub for the zone lock. In terms of, actually, that's not gonna happen on the zone lock because it has to be normal summon specifically. Pilgrim, assuming that if it was summoned off from Winds of Ice Barrier, it makes it so that the Floodgate ability of 1900 or more attack cannot be killed by battle. That gets cancelled. And then Samurai, same thing. Spellbreaker. Strategist, you cannot cycle cards. You cannot compulse off from Dance Priestess. Revealer, you cannot extend another ice barrier, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck, courtesy of Winds. And then Judge of the Ice Barrier, of course, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck. It makes it so that the Floodgate ability of paying life points is not going to happen, and the recycle is not going to happen off from Judge as well, and the battle position change isn't going to happen. And then Wind Witches. Due to Wind Witch Chimes, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck, in terms of missing names, let's say Ice Spell is not in the hand. If Ice Spell was summoned for one, you cannot burn your opponent 500 damage for one. And then Glass Spell, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck, it makes it so that you cannot add a Wind Witch monster. So most cases, Ice Spell also does the same thing, favoring special a Wind Witch from the deck. So assuming that Ice Spell was summoned from the deck, you cannot burn. Glass Spell, you cannot search. And then let's see what else. And then Blizzard Bell, on the other hand, let's see. Blizzard Bell, it does say you can send from hand or field, so that means the burn effect off from the field is not going to happen. And then Kaijus. In terms of actual Kaijus, assuming that if they were summoned from the deck, they cannot Omni-negate 1 times too many off from Gimmick Seal, and they cannot cut the attack and defense in half off from Godarla, which is insane. And then with that being said about Corridor of Agony, Magic Specters. Can't forget about Magic Specters, because cards such as Magic Specter Wind, if you happen to tribute 1 Wind Spellcaster, it makes it so that you are able to E-Telly any Magic Specter in general. So any Magic Specter you summon from the main deck have the effect shut off, and that causes the anti-target and can't be killed cancelled. So that pretty much means they cannot search off from Nekomata during the end phase. They cannot search off from Bambuku in terms of monsters. They cannot search spells off from Crow. They cannot search traps off from Fox. They cannot set a Magic Spectre spell trap off from Toad. They cannot search a field spell. In terms of what, actually, let's see. Nope, Majesty does count, so Porcupine. They cannot reset button a Magister spell from your graveyard, assuming that if it was summoned from the deck. So once again, Magic Spectre wins, and or Ties of the Brethren in terms of the Crow, the Fox, the Toads, Porcupine, and Majesty Pegasus in terms of being Ties of the Brethren. This could actually cancel out the field effects, if any, to some degree. But most cases, that's most likely won't affect her anyways. And then Magic Spectre Wind E-Telly's out. Literally any Magic Spectre, yes. So E-Telly's Carrot in general, and it outright cancels the compulsing effects from either side, which is insane. So basically, Corridor of Agony hardcore wrecks Magic Spectres if summoned from the deck. And with that being said, this has been James Polk on the Tech Talk of Corridor of Agony. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you haven't already, smash the notification bell to keep yourself constantly updated. And let me know in the comments below about your usage of Corridor of Agony. And we'll catch you guys next time.